We have WhatCulture Gaming. If you didn't hear about Suicide Squad Kills Justice League, it's currently on PlayStation and it's free. And I hate it because it looks awful. This is the thanks that we get for making their game a game of the year. You give us this horrible piece of shit. The colossal waste of time, which is Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's final season has concluded, and the results are somehow even worse than anything we'd endured to this point. Josh Brown, we're going to break this stuff down. Spoilers for the Arkhamverse and Suicide Squad's now entire story. But turns out the evil Justice League were clones all along.
You know what? I kind of...
Wow, that's just lazy writing right there, if you ask me.
Like many people, saw this retcon, I suppose, coming, and I was so in denial, and I didn't want it to be true because I just feel like this little bow on the end of the Suicide Squad story.
Chat, hang on. Do you guys remember that one thing from like the cinematic? Who's that one guy that does these animated like shorts of like how it should have gone? That's what it is, or how it should have ended. He always does the reoccurring joke right there where, like, you know, when they had the Avengers, Infinity War, where everyone got snapped out. Superman got snapped out from the diner. Everybody else got snapped out. Nick Fury from over the window of that cafe got snapped out. And then Batman was at risk of getting snapped out. Bro literally just started screaming, because I'm Batman. And it just, like, avoids the snap. And I'm like, huh? Like, dude, he dies and then comes back, like, from how it should have ended, like, constantly. And it's just for a few words, because I'm Batman. Bruh. They literally fucking did that. What a fucking waste of time. Dude. Story building, Batman dies, a lot of plot goes out, and then, becomes a Batman. Because I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
I mean, to many people, it will be a plus because it means like you don't really have to take that story seriously anymore.
Yeah.
It means
Because
that
I'm
the
Batman.
characters that you like the Arkham version of Batman are not really dead, but it just makes Suicide Squad a completely pointless endeavor in my mind because it's like
it's a joke.
You are not living up to your...
Dude, it's just like that one thing that I said, that how it should have ended. You know, it's a joke because it's funny. And they have all these little, comedic stuff in there. And you're just like, well, that was just a waste of time. It could have just gone like this. And then we could have just skipped it. That's the whole purpose of it. It's supposed to be funny. This one was, so they essentially blew, was it $200 million for a cheaper, more stupider knockoff of how it should have ended on YouTube? Like, the animated ones they do? Bruh. Wow, that was a waste of time.
Your title then, are you? But then maybe it shouldn't have with a story like this anyway, because the story, even in the main game, was not good, Scott Tilford.
I want to bring a few more details and then we'll get back to purely just opinion-based, what a colossal waste of everyone's time this entire thing has been. Only in my opinion. We'll see what happens down in the comments. I want to see what you think of the whole thing. But I can't fathom the human cost of this, genuinely.
I know what you mean, yeah.
On the development side, the art department, the creative side,
You know what? I'm just going to say this right now. You know, like, how I told you guys, like, live service games and all that and yada, yada, yada. If this wasn't, like, a live service game and it just had all of this already put in there, I think a lot of less people would be upset and it wasn't going out the way it did. Because then they got the whole story instead of waiting for months, and the player count goes down so fucking far down that the fact that even Satan himself called up here and saying, "What the fuck? Why does this shit keep coming down? It's even going to my basement. What the fuck?" That's how far it went down. That's how far it went down. They could have just like done the full game right there with this ending, and I think a lot more people would be like, "Oh, okay, well, that was an interesting little short gameplay right there, and that would have been all right, and that probably would have cost like less money to do and not add in like DLC. I honestly feel like this should have been just like a one ship, like essentially ship everything out in one go, and not cost $200 million, because I honestly feel like with how everything was animated, how it was made, I don't think it cost anywhere near that much. If you have 50 people worrying about one character design right there, you are obviously insane. You have 25 people working on like just a half, like on one arm for one of the fists for Batman. You are insane. I'm sorry, like, you don't need to have that many people. You can have one person make the designs, do the modeling, because then they get to put that on there because they got the character design and how it's going to work and how they look, and this is what they feel like the player base would like, Okay, but $200 million. All right.
Length of time it was in development, the fact
bro.
that Rocksteady are a shell of their former selves. They've had a whole bunch of layoffs. I'm going to get back to that stuff because of how much
we really should go back.
Money side of it, it lost Warner Brothers
see those games right there. They talked about the old Batman Arkham Knight series right there.
So, like I said, they're clones all along. People who were playing Suicide Squad to this point already cottoned onto that because there were two other characters, Flash and Green Lantern, that you saved. That you found they were ostensibly clones for them, but I don't think they'd spelt it out as much as this.
Yeah.
Whereas in this final one, the final scene to Kill the Justice League comes across in a motion comic cutscene with Harley Quinn doing the voiceover. The only go-to assumption is that Rocksteady, like I said, are a shell of their former selves, aren't able to devote the necessary funds to be able to do a proper cinematic cutscene,
so
3D
lazy
motion
writing
capture or whatever it is. Harley even does the voices for Batman and Superman, which
lazy writing.
I thought that was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
Like,
again,
whatever.
lazy writing.
And so, like you said, well,
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but that's what it is.
All told, Arkhamverse, Batman didn't die, even though there was that really controversial scene at the end last year that everyone got hung
because
up
he's
on
Batman.
in terms of the way that
Batman
they were
don't die,
potentially
bro.
handling Kevin Conroy's final performance. You've got all that stuff. Everything about the Arkhamverse can now just continue as if nothing happened. Actual Wonder Woman is dead, though, because she was never turned in the first place. She gets killed by the now cloned Superman. So at least when we're talking about Arkhamverse versions of these characters, which in theory, and oh my god, this stuff is exhausting. In theory,
it's Batman.
There's going to be one unified timeline going
covered.
forward. According to Warner Brothers, it was all going to be one version of a character, one version of a mythos going forward. But the Wonder Woman game is still in production from Monolith, another Warner Brothers studio. However, I wanted to throw in that regard, last June in 2024, Kind of Funny's Greg Miller saying he was talking to members of Monolith about how much of an absolute fire that game's development is.
Right.
Referred to it as being troubled and said he wouldn't be surprised if the studio got shut down. He said, WTF do Warner Brothers even want to do with these characters?
Wow, okay.
Greg Miller, not someone to go in on stuff, but very much was quite clear about that.
That's just
we'll get back to
sad.
the Suicide Squad stuff, but thoughts on all this so far?
This is probably like the saddest adventure
much
that
to
everyone's been
consider
on.
here, Scott. I mean, I can't believe
the 20
I
people
can
still
believe
played
because
this.
of the
80
reception of
people.
Suicide
I don't know
Squad,
how many people
but I
still
can't
play this
believe that
game.
they gave the Brainiac and the cloned superheroes of this story the Poochie died on the way to his home planet treatment and just said, don't worry about it. It's actually so sound. They were just clones. The 13 Brainiacs are dead. Don't worry about it.
There's a
We're sweeping
line
it under the rug.
There's a line in here as
puns.
well where Harley says it's in Batman's voice that like, oh, the criminals, the Suicide Squad did well following his plan.
Yeah.
So his plan was to get captured and then cloned and for loads of Gothamites, loads of those people to die. And for all this to play out, that's standard, that little one-line thing of, it's always Batman's plan, as if that's going to do right by everything.
Look, I get it. Like you said there have been reports. I think there was a Bloomberg report last year where I think it was Jason Schreier said that this team, the Rocksteady team, obviously this is not how they planned to release these 4 seasons of story updates. They probably would not have envisioned when they set out creating Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, to end the entire thing on this motion comic in such a fashion like this, just quickly wrapping up plot points. But this is the risk that you take, right? When you go in on a live service, that roadmap that you have on day one is never locked in place, or at least it is never guaranteed to come to fruition the way that you might have wanted it to if you're a developer. We've seen that time and time again. You look at something like Anthem with Anthem 2.0, that was promised to be coming, and then they decided to scrap it.
I think this is probably like this waste of money right here, 100%.
Season pass eventually coming out because
I wonder
they
how they
have
feel.
promised it. They need to deliver something. We knew there were going to be 4 seasons of Suicide Squad
just
before the
wasting
game even launched. So
Warner Brothers
they need
money.
to deliver it in some form. But if the game doesn't sell day one, the publishers aren't going to want to put put the
because I
money
think the
in to
calibration's
support
off.
it to the level that maybe was envisioned. However, that said, the way that Suicide Squad kills the Justice League ends before season 1, and you get all of that extra story stuff. That is Rocksteady seemingly
Thank God it's
firing on
over.
all
That's all I'm
cylinders with
gonna
the
say.
amount of money that they needed to make that game. And that is bad as well. So I think even if this story was presented in the way that it was originally intended to,
Sorry, I
it
had to close
still
my eyes
wouldn't
right there
have been
because,
good.
like,
It
dude,
just makes that
people are
original
such,
ending
like,
so much
you know,
work
I'm sorry, but they're like
worse, sorry,
so.
and
Oh my
spoilers
God,
for
like,
that. But
it's crazy that people are always talking
it
about
has
like
some high
Batman
points in
Arkham
terms
Knight,
of
like,
the
oh
cinematics,
dude, this
but
is like the
absolute
best game,
dirt
and then
worst
just
is the
how
ending
they
of it,
just
where
handle.
it is
Then again,
completely unfinished.
it's
It
different
does just
people.
kind of render the
Fortunately,
stakes
it
that
is
have
different
been
people,
built up
so you know it's
previously
not like
null,
anything to do
and
on
it
that
sets
right
you
now.
out on this live service quest to again track down those 13
it's gonna happen
brainiacs
everywhere.
across different multiverses. So to have there not be a proper ending to the base game, and then to have the ending that wraps it all up in this post-release content be so bad, it kind of it makes the original, which was already pretty bad, like worse than it was.
Yeah, it's like you kind of
dude,
need
yeah,
this
no.
extra content.
It's
It
like,
literally
I
is
don't know.
content. You
I
need
feel
this
like just
extra
watching this
goomph
sometimes
to
gives me
go
a
through to
headache.
get
I'm like,
something
dude,
of
are you
a
guys
more
really going to
positive,
be wasting $200 million?
Because the actual note that it ends on, if you're a Suicide Squad fan, I guess is fun enough. Like the idea of the squad escaping Amanda Waller, commandeering a ship, going off into the Elseworlds, all these different universes.
Wonder
or whatever.
Woman's dead.
And that would be their sequel tag. But Amanda Waller gets to have Brainiac and the rest of that.
Yeah,
Like, there's
Wonder Woman is
Harley
dead.
says, "Oh, it's a happy ending for all," and it's like that would if Suicide Squad ever worked. I
Are
maintain
they
this
just
was
gonna,
never it.
you know,
In 2016,
phone her
it was
back?
always Warner Brothers trying to have their Guardians of the Galaxy, and it never landed the right way. And
Yeah,
the
I feel like they
2016
should
movie was
phone her
hacked to
back.
death. David Ayer's version hacked to death by the marketing department. That thing actually did do quite well at the box office, but then word of mouth was so sour, and then it took them forever. James Gunn's version, like, really, really bad. I want to throw in some of the history because you were mentioning, like, the original vision of the game and the reality of the development, and the Jason Schreier report. We do know from Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, which the report happened last year, talking to members of Rocksteady under anonymity, that development was an absolute mess with Warner Brothers higher-ups and even Rocksteady higher-ups, including Sefton Hill, who I think is one of the founders of Rocksteady, and Jamie Walker, who have now left Rocksteady.
Trying to get
They
this,
left
like,
in the middle of this
recentered right
thing,
here.
which when I did the report last year, I just referred to them as abandoning ship, which is one of the only ways that you can look at it, especially if you're a member of that team. Sefton Hill, Jamie Walker, but especially Sefton Hill is name-dropped in the report as someone who just could not decide what the hell the game was supposed to be. Apparently, he would be unavailable.
It's crazy
for weeks on
that
end
they have
when
all these
members of
mechanics in here,
different
and
teams
it's like,
were looking to him to be like, what the hell are we supposed to be doing with
I
this
don't know.
game?
I just feel like it's pretty
alongside
mad.
that, you had Warner Brothers executives thinking the game would be $1 billion IP, would be $1 billion franchise, $1 billion game. Obviously, that
I'm just gonna say this right here. Oh my God, like the fact that they're overhyped this, like they overhyped it. That's the part that kind of annoys me right there. Like they really overhyped that shit like so fucking much. That's why I fucking hate that. Like on a lot of games now, they always do that. They're like, oh, well, look at this. This thing costs like, oh, look at it's judging by how it's gone and all that sort of stuff. Oh, I give the educated guess right there. It's gonna be like $200 million. So we gotta make it to $400 billion. Like, oh, okay, yeah, man, that makes sense. The math don't matter. Math up, chat. That's what I'm trying to say. The math no mathing up. Why is the math not mathing up? I don't know. Ask them, because obviously they knew what they were fucking doing with that. Oh my God, dude. I want to say I think someone else talked about this too, but I honestly forgot who. Like, just like I want to say it was like Asmongold though. I want to say it was him, but I might be wrong. I want to say it was him. Let me just lower this down just a smudge right here, because I think the camera's like dirty right now, so I might have to fix that later on. I haven't really cleaned the camera though, so that might be the issue why it's not like picking up. But like, dude, the fact that they waste so much fucking time, so much fucking money, and then they say, oh yeah, no, like, oh, like, ooh, it's like, this is what's going to be because the IP is already well known. And it's like, that doesn't help. That doesn't fucking help, man. Like, they could make it with like what they have. That's the part that kills me. How come they don't do that? How come they don't just try to? Okay, but you know, like, just continue on with the video.
That wasn't the case.
It's just,
talk about
you know,
Rocksteady
mind-boggling
overall,
that they
because
do
I
this
think
shit.
a lot of the elephant in the room stuff is like, how do you go from Arkham Knight and then a 9-year wait and then Suicide Squad? They were working on a multiplayer game back in 2016. Apparently, once Arkham Knight was done, they wanted to do something different anyway. And a very early version of Suicide Squad was a more melee-based multiplayer game. But in 2016, they were working on something that was codenamed Stones. It wasn't the Suicide Squad game. It was just a multiplayer game. But then when the 2016 movie blew up, that then became the Suicide Squad game.
Yeah.
And then over time, it became this Arkhamverse time or whatever.
Oh my god, dude, yeah, the
whilst
Suicide
there were all
Squad.
those pressures
Oh
from
my
Warner
god.
Brothers, the idea of focusing on DC and Batman,
I still don't like you know,
so it
Suicide
just
Squad.
is one of those
like,
corporate
you know, the
cluster
movie.
Fs that rolled out slowly for 9 years.
Yeah, I mean, like, it feels like
I don't know,
everything went
I just didn't feel
wrong
like that
for
was
this
like,
project
you know,
at
something
every
for me right there.
stage of
Also, I
production.
just
Like you
noticed, I
said
think
there,
my model
the
moved a
idea
little bit
of
more.
Warner Brothers wanting a Suicide
Oh,
Squad
no, my
thing
model
to release
moved.
to gamers, that seems to have come first, because we know
probably
that
not trying to
WB
fix
Montreal was originally
tracking
working on a
earlier.
Suicide Squad game, then they were taken
I
off
was
it,
in the
then
middle
they
of
probably
right there,
given
'cause I
to
was just like, dude, I
Rocksteady,
need to
so
fidget with
it felt
something
like
'cause
they
it's getting
just
on my
wanted a
nerves.
version of this, because like you said, they thought it was going to be this
That's not
billion-dollar
good.
thing. And I think it could have been if
Billion-dollar
they,
colossal waste of
landed on a
time.
model and a style
Eventually
of
did
gameplay that,
what I
fans
said,
actually
you know, the,
liked, like they did with the
how it should have
Arkham
ended.
games as
Those
well.
people-
And
actually,
yeah,
hang on,
even
did-
internally
see if I can
from
find them.
Rocksteady,
Yeah.
I know that there were a lot of reports saying that, this live service thing wasn't forced on them.
If my mouse can
which,
connect them.
for me personally, and this, I don't know anything deeper, but I find that to be probably technically true, but it's also, to me, on the same wavelength of crunch not being mandatory. It's
Right.
like sort of an ultimatum in a way. It's sort of like a lose-lose situation. I imagine in just knowing what we know from Warner Brothers and their pursuit of these billion-dollar franchises and their pursuit of live service and their respect.
And again, so many live service
like
games.
champion of that recurring spend. I mean, they don't need to force
It's like,
a studio
dude, just stop
into
it with the
doing
live service
something,
everywhere.
but
It's
they
like
can
getting
say,
so annoying.
Hey,
like,
yeah, you can make another
I can't even tell the
single-player game
difference
that
from
has
one
these
game to another one
projections,
anymore
but,
now because they
we're
both have
looking
live service.
for
There's
this
like
amount of
nothing
revenue,
individual
and if you
about them
can't
that
promise
sets
us
them
that,
apart from the others.
Something. So,
it's
who knows?
it's just
we
a
can't
fucking
promise you
joke now.
anything to going forward. And I feel like that's how a lot of these decisions are ultimately made, where you give someone the. I'm just basing this off the Blizzard book, by the way.
I mean, I'm not wrong.
that
Like,
Jason
guys,
Schreier wrote, where there are a
how-
lot of similar
how many games
conversations
do you
where get
guys
the
have
executives
that
not outright saying,
are
we
essential
need
live
you to do
service?
this, but saying that, well, our projections for you are this, and you need to
Exactly.
hit it however
A
you
lot
want.
of them.
You
Yeah,
kind
how
of
else are
guess.
you gonna get it?
Exactly.
Lots of them.
The developers end up just trying to do it because they're getting
I don't know
this
why, like,
pressure, even if it isn't like
just need to go back to the
outright,
old system.
we are
I think
in
that was probably
charge,
the best
you need to
system right
give us
there.
X product by
I mean,
X
you can
time.
have
Yeah, there was a
battle
whole
pass,
thing last year as
you know,
well where
games,
one of the
but
members of Warner Brothers, I think it was Simon Pereira,
if you
I
do
forget
it
the full
everywhere,
name of that individual, but there was a
it's just gonna get
press
so fucking
conference, a general
annoying.
sort of earnings conference statement thing. Very vague there, but you know what I mean? I did a whole report on it last year, but I just remember the quote about they want players to work and live in these different game worlds. And that's all about repeat monetization, trying to get you to spend over and over and over again.
Also, the character
and it is
designs
that
on
thing,
there
and we
look
talk about it all
pretty
the time,
meh.
about just how, money blind a lot of corporate executive decisions are, or shareholder decisions, or just that idea of the fans will put up with it. Just design this set of frameworks, apply all the price tags, and the fans, these nebulous fans, will put up
I
with
don't know
anything.
if it's just me,
will get
chat.
stuck in and make all the
I
money
honestly
over
feel
and
like
over
the
and
designs
over
are pretty meh.
but yeah, like we said at the beginning, or you said at the beginning, there's that whole idea of like,
Pretty
what
meh.
was this even for? If you
Yeah.
do the clone angle, the only remote lasting thing of this is that Wonder Woman stays dead.
And
No.
you know what? I am actually pleased
Now,
that they
like,
committed to
the Justice
that, at
League,
least,
though, they
because
made them
for
look
me, by
now,
far, the best
you know,
part of the
okay,
Suicide Squad
just
story and
designs.
game in general.
If they would have changed something
it's
kind of
those
like
Wonder
showing
Woman
them
moments,
apart, but
like,
you know, I
for me, I
obviously
said this in
there's
the
not
review
much
way
they
back
could do.
when, but every time Wonder Woman was on screen and she was, grappling with Superman or what have you, I was just thinking, I want to be playing that game.
Right.
That actually looks so fun. The stakes are clearly defined. The emotion is there. That battle between Wonder Woman and Superman, it's great.
Yeah, like former friends.
Yeah. Her death, it works. Like, that dramatic arc just feels like
Dude,
it should have been
and the
the
fact that
focus.
they have
You
a
should
game
have been
coming out,
playing that,
and
and
now
it
she's
feels
dead.
like while that is happening,
How's
you're
that
the
work?
Suicide Squad doing all of the
The
busy
math-
work,
the
doing
math,
all of the
chat,
crap tasks
the
no one
math,
else
oh
wants
God,
to
the
do,
math.
and that's kind of really frustrating. But yeah, overall, I mean, going forward, the rumors suggest that we're going to get a new Arkham game from Rocksteady. It's going to be a return.
We're probably
to their
never going to
roots.
get another
I
one
kind of, I
after
don't even
this,
think
'cause
they
they're
should
gonna-
acknowledge
they're
this
gonna go
overall.
bankrupt.
Just sweep it under the rug. You're already playing around with so many different multiverses and whatnot. You've now introduced clones. You've already,
I forgot about that. They had the multiverse arc.
Theoretically ignore it. And
I completely forgot about the clone thing. Like, chat, I didn't want to play the game because people were saying it was very bad. It was so bad that their player numbers only went up like, okay, so it only went up just like a little bit, but not something like, oh, that's a lot, you know? It was just like, it's just like, it was like, what, like 50 people, 150 people came on, and that was it. Just had it, and so it had that spike of 150 people, then it went back down to where it was, and then it actually went down even lower than that. What the fuck, dude? Yeah, I honestly feel like Rocksteady, they're probably not going to be in business anymore. Like, them making another Batman Arkham Knight, I do not see in the foreseeable future. Now, fingers crossed, maybe they realize, oh, this was like the worst mistake that we've ever done. We probably should not do this again. I'm just going to put the example. You could be like a Ubisoft right now. Ubisoft is the first major studio that is well known that is going to be bought by the investors. And probably all the IPs that they had, if they can get some of their money back, will be sold. And all of the people who worked on those games are going to be jobless. Heard maidenless? We're going to call them jobless now.
Say, actually, don't worry about it. We're picking up where we left off if they want to. While we're doing something brand new. You know, you've got multiverses there. So the idea of multiverses, by the way, not the game.
About the multiverse because the writing was
also
stupid.
Yeah, also Warner Brothers Palm, yeah. The reality of the Wonder Woman stuff I think is interesting because again last year there was a hiring call put out for someone for the Wonder Woman game to work at Monolith. For someone that would know live service mechanics. It seems like the Wonder Woman game is also in itself going to have repeat monetization, which is the overall thing that Warner Brothers want. Again, can you take a pocket of Wonder Woman fans and repeatedly monetize them over and over again? But we've not seen anything of the Wonder Woman game in years.
You know, I honestly feel like she might come back. Hang on, let me see if I can find that one. It's because it's that one that's like because I'm Batman. Hang on, let me go on YouTube, and you guys are gonna know who it is. I think it was because of Batman. Hang on, I can't even spell. Because I'm Batman. See if I can find him. There we go. See?
I love you.
No.
This is my world.
No, Clark, you can't.
You are my world.
See?
It's so cliche.
So
Don't
stupid
fight
right
the
here.
monster.
Oh, look, there's Wonder Woman. She just lives.
All right, Chubbs, let's do this.
Yeah, it just pops out of nowhere. Yeah. Yeah, no. Oh yeah, here we go. This is the one. Batman survived the Thanos snap. See, look, that's essentially what these people were trying to do. See?
I thought Ant-Man and Wasp would have been here by now. What the heck was that? Nick Fury just turned to dust in front of our window. We gotta do something. Bruce?
See?
This is different. What the? Cal! Speak to me! What's going on? Oh no. Oh no. Not today. Because I'm Batman!
Bruh.
I will avenge you, Superman. I mean, I will unite the League. You, Superman. Oh, never mind. His dust is rising. He'll be back.
See, I told you. It's just something so stupid, pointless like that. Like, what the fuck, man? That is essentially how this fucking went. I mean, they could have done something like that where it could have been like stupid and funny, and not costly, dude. That's the big thing. It's not costly, but it made it costly anyway. Like, they could have done that right there was funny.
is now.
No.
Because
And
of
so
Batman.
it is that question,
Chat.
especially after this.
That's
of
how you
is it-
survive
Is it meant to be the
getting
same
Thanos
one? Is
snapped.
it meant to be the same Diana? Or is the
You're welcome.
Does anyone even care? Like, oh my god, it's 2025.
It depends, man. Like I don't think there's anything wrong with still using these franchises. You know,
Yeah.
I think they can't just expect people to buy a game because it
of
is
Batman
within a
chat.
beloved franchise. Sorry, tripping over all of my words this morning. But you know, like a Wonder Woman game, that sounds cool from Monolith. That sounds
like the
really cool.
Wonder Woman game, but we're
if they
not
can
gonna get that on
incorporate
screen.
some of the elements that they introduced in the Middle Earth games, excellent. That is
I love
another,
Middle Earth.
for instance, series that I never
I also
thought
like
I
Inner
wanted.
Earth
You know,
and Outer
did I
Earth,
want
and
a
then just
new
Earth
Middle
as a
Earth
whole.
game that's an open world Ubisoft style title? I didn't think so, and then we got the Shadow of Mordor, and we got the Nemesis system, and it was really, really good, better
man.
than anyone expected. So it's not the brand that I think I'm personally over. I'm just over the mismanagement of all of these different studios, because at this point, yes, okay, maybe there are issues internally with the developers themselves, but you look at Warner Brothers'
I was trying to
slate,
hold
and
that
so
sneeze right
much
there.
of it has just been outright mismanaged and outright bad. Like
Might be able to get windy
Arkham
tonight,
Origins is
though.
a great game, and Gotham Knights has its, you know,
Has its moments,
has
goddammit.
its moments. It really does,
I like that
but
thing.
you feel like that team that made Arkham Origins with Gotham Knights, they could have done something more. Why did that turn out the way that it did with all of its issues? Why did Rocksteady go from Arkham Knight to Suicide Squad? How is NetherRealm
That's a good
now
question
in a
right there. We should
situation
ask
where they have
the
to just keep making
consultants that
Mortal
they hired.
Kombat games with
might
increasingly
help.
dodgy monetization?
That actually
and
might
they
help.
can't even, you know, live up to some of their promises that they made when they launched something like Mortal Kombat 1, right? Like, what's happening with all of these studios under WB?
Only bad. I forgot about how disastrous the Mortal Kombat stuff was. We did a report on that at the tail end of last year. Yeah, that fact, the whole thing with WB being like, oh, we're going to narrow it down to 4 pillars, like Harry Potter, DC / Batman, Game of Thrones, and
Wait, they have Game of Thrones? I thought that was HBO. Wait, is it? They have Game of Thrones? I don't believe you. Wait. Unless no, like Game of Thrones, like HBO though, right? Like that they own that. Wait, hang on. I'm curious. Like, no, they're like their own thing, right? Hang on. Game of Thrones. I'm gonna check that really quick. Game of Thrones. I honestly don't. Game of Thrones. It is. Is it? No, see, look, no, it's not. Okay, so it says no, Game of Thrones is not owned by Warner Brothers, but it's development at Warner Brothers HBO, which is so it's it's kinda not, but kinda is at the same time. That's why I was like, no, like dude, I fucking knew that right there. I was like, no. And the funny part is, I don't even watch that. And I knew that. I was like, no way, hang on. So false.
one more that I'm blanking on, but the idea being that you would focus everything on these 4 key pillar franchises, and then run them into the ground. Mortal Kombat is in the worst state it's been since the entire thing almost went under at the end of the 2000s.
I forgot about Game of
But yeah, we can pretty much close
actually,
the
I
book
do
on
remember
Suicide Squad. I'm
Mortal
sure there'll be more
Kombat.
information comes out. I'm sure there'll be more.
I remember when my
workers,
friend's little
developers on
sister
the
kicked
teams,
my ass
that
on
get
there,
out
and I
and
thought
say,
it
"Look,
was him.
you've got no
And I
idea
thought he was
how
being
many,
easy on me,
like,
and then I died a
ridiculous
bit inside
conversations we
that
had
day.
trying to bring this thing together.
When I had to go back to
lost
school.
Warner Brothers $200 million. Rocksteady have sadly suffered
When I was in
multiple
high
bouts of layoffs, including, well, I guess including the leaving.
She
of
was
some of
like,
the heads
"Oh,
of the
I saw you
studio
were
that
playing.
in themselves were
I
responsible for
decided
the
to go
Arkham
on
trilogy
after
in
he
the
went to go
first
to the
place,
bathroom, and I
or the
hop
quadrilogy.
on."
And even Warner Brothers Montreal
I was
lost some
wondering why he
staff
was
as well.
fucking
Who were
quiet.
responsible for, they were like a support studio on Suicide Squad. But like you
Got
said,
my
they were
ass
mainly responsible for
handed
Gotham
to me
Knights
by a
and
little
Origins and
girl,
stuff.
chat.
So just,
Let
like I
that
said,
sink
all
in.
around a colossal waste of
I
everyone's
did
time.
not- I did not
kinda can't believe
emotionally
it,
recover
but
from
hopefully it's
that.
finally done.
I did not. Oh god. But yeah, no, like Mortal Kombat's been going down. That's crazy that Warner Brothers is not having a good time, but Disney's not having a good time either. So there's like a man. Actually, I think no one's having a good time. I'm just gonna say this right now. This is essentially like 2020 season 6.